Hey everybody. Today we're going to focus a little bit more on bacteria. We've been doing a lot of discussions with bacteria in class, but we're going to jump into the actual bacterial cell and what it's composed of, what it's made of. But before we go any further and jump into that, let's just go back and review. Right now, we've talked basically a little bit about reproduction and also the functional role that bacteria plays within the environment. So a lot of people, well, bacteria in general, gets a bad rap because most people focus on the bad things that bacteria do, when they also do a lot of good. More bacteria do good than they do bad. So just a couple things just to review real quick. Remember, we said they are our environmental decomposers, all right? Which means that they help to clean up the environment. They can feed off of decaying substances, oil spills, for example. Sometimes you'll see bacteria put into an oil spill because they feed off of it. They help with the production of medicines, and they also help with the production of food sources, right? Like cheese and yogurt, which I'm a big fan of. Now, bad things that they can cause are staph infections, tuberculosis. That's some nasty stuff. Lyme disease, believe it or not, if you didn't know that, that's pretty common. Lyme disease, getting bit by the tick, but that's also caused by a certain type of bacteria. So what we're going to do now is take a look at it and see what it's all about. So again, forgive my drawing because I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but obviously bacterial cell is round. So I'm going to start with the outermost structure, which I just drew. This is your cell wall. Now, basically, what the cell wall does is help to give the cell its shape, and it's there to support. Within the cell wall, you have a thin structure called the cell membrane. Okay, so you have the cell membrane, which is like the inner wall. And what it does is it allows substances to move into the cell and move out of the cell. So you can have, some substances coming in, and you can also have some substances going out. It acts like a screen door because it controls what passes in and what passes out. Now, within the cell, you have this circular strand of material called DNA. And we've talked quite a bit about DNA, and DNA is the genetic material. All right, so that's the genetic material of a cell, and it controls all the cell's functions. Now, also, bacterial cells are motile, right? They have motility, which means that they can move. So they have some might have one, some might have two, but they have structures that look like tails or whips, and we call these flagellum. And this allows the bacterial cell to move. Then I'm going to add a few more structures within here. We have these small circular looking structures. I'm going to add these in pink because I'm also going to introduce you to another one that's circular as well. But the ones that I'm adding in pink are called your ribosomes. And they're like tiny little factories. And we know factories make things. So within this bacterial cell, you have your ribosomes, which is your tiny little factories that produce proteins, which are important to the cell. Now, you also have something that I'm going to put here in blue, but you have larger circular structures that are actually called plasmids. And these are important to bacteria, but sometimes can be harmful to us because what these plasmids do is they are antibiotic resistant. So, sometimes, a lot of times when you have a bacterial infection, you go to the doctor and they put you on a treatment course for certain antibiotics to help kill the bacteria. Well, these plasmids right here start to develop a resistance to that antibiotic, and it won't kill the bacteria, which is the ultimate goal of the antibiotics, to make you to start feel better. Okay, so with that being said, or in a nutshell, that's our bacterial cell. And again, We know a bacterial cell is a prokaryote, and we know that because prokaryotes are simple single-celled organism, and that's what a bacterial cell is. So again, just to recap, okay, the cell wall, which is the outermost layer of the cell, helps with its shape. Right within that, you have a thin layer, or a thin wall, is called the cell membrane, which allows substances to pass in and out. You have your plasmids, which help with antibiotic resistance, ribosomes, which produce proteins, your DNA, or your genetic material, which is free-floating because prokaryotes and bacteria don't have a nucleus. That's the control center of the cell, controls all its functions. And then what allows the cell to move is these whip and tail-like structures right here called flagella. And that's the bacterial cell.